Hey everyone, welcome back to RM Transit. I was back in Ottawa last week, and since of course I arrived in Ottawa by train, my access point to the whole city was the very nice Tremblay station. Let's take a look at this lovely station on Ottawa's OTrain Line 1. For content from Ottawa to Paris to Seoul, consider supporting RM Transit on Patreon. It makes a big difference. Arriving at the station Tremblay, I have to say I'm reminded of Montreal, where Bonaventure on the Orange Line is the de facto connection to Central Station. I really think there's a broader point to be made here. I'm not a huge fan of naming stations separately from the thing they are primarily connected to. It's good enough that when you're approaching Tremblay on a train, it literally says Tremblay via rail. But either calling the station Tremblay Ottawa Station or renaming the intercity station seems like it would be better and would help with the low-level understanding of what we're actually talking about. Now, I actually stayed at the hotel across the highway from the train station this time, and for what it's worth, it was fairly convenient, with the pedestrian bridge being super useful. That said, the stairs on the bridge were literally falling apart, and if I ever stay here again, it will be a miracle if I don't injure myself walking on them. Coming across the bridge to the station, I do have to say that the giant loop road in front of the station with trains running right under it, visible from all around, is quite interesting. What's a little less nice is the integration between the VIA station and the OTrain station. I get that a lot of people will have to go outside as part of their journey after catching the OTrain, or on the way to it, but please close the small gap between the station building and the OTrain. It would be really nice. I get that people will say, oh, it's just a small gap. But when we arrived in Ottawa, it was pouring, and the time to walk from the station to the undercover area was enough to have us soaked. Along with the lack of a full canopy at the high-level VIA platform, that just wasn't a fun travel experience. While integration isn't optimal, I will say that the station looks really striking with its sharp angular roofline that really connects it with the other surface stations. It's also really nice that there's a nice little plaza out in front with some benches and bike pools, though the lack of a SkyTrain-style bike parkade is really too bad. The grass next to us is also sort of in rough shape, but it's wintertime, so come on! Approaching the station entrance, as with other surface stations on the network, such as Bayview, which I made a video about when the system opened, we're greeted with a cool light box with integrated ticket machines, which you can use to purchase different fares. The fare gates themselves are alright too. They're very similar to Toronto's, and one even allows for open payment with a credit card or mobile phone, something you can't do in Toronto. But that said, the small, top-mounted tap point isn't super convenient, a problem Toronto's gates also sort of suffer from. What I will say is that once we're through the gates, that the wayfinding experience at the station and on the OTrain as a whole is fairly good. Even when you aren't at a station yet, sidewalk decals guide you here, as well as the iconic red O pylons. The signage within the stations is nice, including a well-designed diagram of each station facility. There are also nice audio announcements telling you when trains to various locations are arriving, which will be particularly nice once branches open on the western extension of the line, which I talked about in a recent video. Of course, the nice part about the concourse is that you can easily see down to the platforms and the tracks below, which helps with navigation as well as a sense of safety and security. There's also a display on this level which could possibly be for showing connections. I also think it's worth driving home the redundant elevators on both sides of the station. These help keep the system accessible even if an elevator fails, which they inevitably will from time to time over the years. Heading down the stairs, we're greeted with these side platforms, which are showered in light from the cool light fixtures above. Since Ottawa's rail system runs coupled trains with a gap between them, there are flexi posts on the platform edge to provide a little more security. But I do sort of wonder why a larger and more secure metal fence type barrier isn't used as in some systems. Looking down the platforms, we can see the nice Next train screens. They aren't LCD, but given Ottawa's harsh weather and the perhaps excessively open nature of the station, that's probably for the best. The signs are bright and show the next 2 departures as well as the time, which again could be useful once branched operations begin in the west. Now, walking down the platforms, we come to the Transecure area of the platform, where we have wayfinding maps, a nice thing to see on the actual platforms, as well as benches and a payphone. Talk about something you didn't realize that was still being manufactured brand new. You can also see how the waste receptacles have been nicely integrated. The whole time I was in the station, trains were passing by frequently, traveling in both directions about every 4 minutes. The cool thing thing about riding out of the station to the west is that you ride right along the Via Rail tracks, meaning sometimes you'll see a train going by, hopefully more frequently in the future. I should say the multi-use path connections go from here at Tremblay all the way to the city centre along the rail right-of-way, which is a really nice dual use of the space, letting you get out and walk or cycle to the next station on a nice day. But again, this is another reason that we should probably see proper bike parking at Tremblay station itself. Of course, just walking along the path is also a great way to just see the rail system, which is really nice. Heading out of the station, I'm also reminded of just how nice Ottawa's Via Rail station is. It's a tragedy that this fairly large and modern station only hosts a few train trips a day. It could handle so much more. So with that, our trip to Tremblay is all wrapped. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.